welcome to Whispers of Ink. I'm Machado de Assis, and now, I will read one of my stories.
Let's start with the book What Are Girls Made Of, which is part of my novels collection. Chapter 1. Julia and Teresa were inseparable. People often said harsh things about female friendships, but this story is about one so strong, so deep, and so real that their families compared them to Orestes and Pylades, the legendary pair from ancient times. Back then, women wore crinolines. Yes, even in those days, fashion ruled the way women dressed. Women who had once been beautiful without any help from crinolines suddenly believed they could no longer charm anyone without them. And yet, if there was any reason to stop wearing them, it was simply because of how silly they looked. But I won't go into that now. I don't want to spoil the story, or make you, dear reader, dislike the writer before the tale even begins. So, to return, Julia and Teresa were close like two peas in a pod. Their bond came from years of living near each other and sharing many moments. Their friendship brought joy to their families and admiration from everyone around. Julia had brown hair and dark skin, while Teresa had golden hair and fair skin. That was the only difference between them. Otherwise, they were equally beautiful and always dressed the same. Yes, even when they weren't together, the one who woke up first would send a message to the other, asking what dress she planned to wear that day. That way, they always matched. Imagine how they looked walking together. No one could tell which one was which from a distance. They went everywhere side by side, never to the theater, a party, or a walk alone. At dinner tables, formal or not, whatever one ate, the other ate too. Sometimes they didn't even ask each other, they just knew. This kind of unity could have seemed fake like so many other friendships, but not theirs. They truly loved each other. When one fell ill, the other never got sick, thankfully, but this was because the sick one only accepted soup and care from her best friend. Perhaps that alone helped her recover faster. They were the same age, give or take a few days. No one could tell which one was older just by looking. And no one really cared. What mattered was that they were together, always, like two halves of one whole. They were 20 years old. I can already hear a question forming in the minds of my female readers, a question that will naturally add interest to my story, precisely because I won't be answering it. Here it is. Did those two souls, so close, so alike, happen to be in love with the same man? The question is natural and logical. I can even imagine the dramatic turns it might lead to. But none of that moves me to answer it. All I'll say is that, up to the moment our story begins, neither of their hearts had yet beat for love, a rare thing at 20. When most women already keep bundles of letters tied with ribbon, each one tied to a fickle or unlucky suitor. At least let me give my heroines these two peculiarities. Teresa was the daughter of a landowner. Julia was the daughter of a high-ranking government clerk. Both had living mothers and were only children. It doesn't matter to know anything else. Teresa lived in Catumbi. Julia lived in Cajueros. Imagine now the poor boy's trouble, running back and forth between Cajueros and Catumbi just to find out what each girl was wearing today. They wanted to match each other perfectly even in that. It was the month of June. It was a bit cold. Julia had gone to her little study and was finishing a piece of embroidery she planned to send to Teresa. The windows and doors were shut tight against the cold. She worked quickly, hoping to finish the embroidery that very day. But someone came to interrupt her. A 10-year-old mulatto girl who lived in the house brought her a letter just delivered from Teresa. Julia opened the letter and read, "My dearest Julia, maybe you'll come tonight. I have very important things to tell you." What a story, my friend. It might take 2 hours, maybe more. Get ready. See you soon. Your devoted Teresa. Julia read the letter, read it again, and whispered to herself, "How strange." Then she sat down and wrote back to Teresa these words, "Come, my dear. If you didn't come, I would go to you. It's been so long since I last saw you, and I want to hear from you and speak to you. With what ears I will listen to you, and with what words I will speak to you. Not even 5 hours. The best thing is for you to stay the night here. Yours, Julia." The reader can easily guess that the very important things Teresa had mentioned were certainly not the rise or fall of stocks, nor change in government, nor even the opening of new banks. At 20 years old, there is only one bank, the heart. There is only one government, love. Loyalty and betrayal are the rise and fall of one's emotional fortune. From this, the clever reader can understand the following. Teresa's important matter must be about love. And by saying this, the reader is now ready to see the first light of a pure and passionate feeling rising on the horizon of Teresa's young heart. I won't stop the reader from enjoying that moment, but I will only allow it to happen in the next chapters, not in this one. I will only say, to help guide the reader better, that the visit Teresa had promised did not happen because of unexpected guests who came to her house. Teresa was upset, but she could not overcome that obstacle. Still, she found a way to show her frustration. She didn't say a word the whole evening and went to bed earlier than usual. 2 days later, Teresa received another letter from Julia. "My dearest Teresa, you wanted to tell me about some event, I don't know what. You said you were preparing a letter to explain it all. While I wait for your letter, I write this one to tell you about something that has happened to me. Even in this, we seem like sisters. Oh, if only we lived together, that would be the greatest happiness. We who have always lived so close, so alike. You know that until today I have been like a free butterfly in the fields. No one has made my heart beat faster. Well, my time has come. I know you're going to laugh at me, my sweet little torturer. When you read these confessions, you, who have never been in love, will mock me for falling head over heels like this. Yes, I'm in love, and how could I not be? She's so beautiful, so fascinating. You're dying to know who it is, right? Is it Oliveira? Tavares? Luis Bento? None of them. Relax. I don't even know her name. We aren't friends or anything. I've only seen her once 8 days ago and again yesterday. That's when I truly understood what love was. She's amazing. If you saw her, you'd fall for her too. I wish I could describe her perfectly, but all I can say is this. She's a beautiful young woman with dark eyes, olive skin, thick black hair, and a pair of bold, dark mustaches that frame her face like a painting. She passes by our street every afternoon, between 5 and 6 o'clock. And guess what? She always rides a horse. Teresa, Even the horse seems special to me. Sometimes I think it's been trained because every time it passes by our window, it starts to hop around like it's greeting me, like it's thanking me for loving its rider. What nonsense, right? But forgive me, Teresa. That's what love does to you. There are feelings in love that you never feel any other way. Now I understand. You'll probably ask me if she notices me, if she looks at me. Well, I can tell she does. But, do I know if she likes me? Not for sure. Is it even possible to notice someone so much and not like them? I don't think so. But maybe that's just my heart playing tricks, or my own wishes making me believe too much. I don't know anymore. You wouldn't believe how this has turned my head upside down. Yesterday my mother noticed something was off. She asked me what was wrong, and I told her nothing, but I said it in a way that made her shake her head and whisper. Oh, love, maybe. I almost hugged her right then, but I held back and went straight to my room. I'm scared someone else will find out, but at the same time, how can it be a crime to like a handsome, polite young man like him? What do you think? I really need your advice. You're honest, and you're my true friend. Your words will help me a lot. If I didn't have a friend like you, I'd keep all this locked inside forever. Julia, write to my need to hear from you. If you want, the messenger will wait for your reply. Either way, I hope to have your answer today. Goodbye, Teresa. See you tomorrow, because Mama and I are coming over. Write soon, and always be the friend of your friend Julia. Teresa to Julia. My dear Julian love, what do you say to that? Could it really be that Juve finally found the groom of your dreams? And just like that, out of nowhere, like a summer rain falling in the middle of a bright, beautiful day, from the bottom of my heart I congratulate you. And I say this not only because I care for your happiness, but also because I too deserve congratulations from you. Can you guess why? Because I am in love tuais. Anch'io sono pittore, as my brother Gabriel would say. See how fate protects our hearts. It would be sad if only one of us fell in love and left the other behind, all alone. But no, God has joined us, and does not want us to walk separately. He gives us both his hand and wants us to walk arm in arm down love's path. So let's walk, my dear. You will go with your sweetheart, and I will go with mine. Mine is a handsome young man, just like the one you described in your letter. If I knew his name, I would send word to you right away, but I don't know it yet. I've only seen him riding by in the afternoons. He rides on horseback, just like yours, what luck. Beautiful hair and beautiful eyes. Those eyes, Julia, more beautiful than mine, I swear. I have never seen eyes like that. They seem magically, don't know why, but I can't even look at them directly. I've seen him 5 times already. The second time, he was so distracted watching me that he almost ran into a carriage. I felt so embarrassed. The Avalaire's sisters, who live across the street, started whispering to each other. It seems they figured it out. But I don't care what people say or if they laugh. They're just jealous, I'm sure. I doubt any well-mannered young man would ever show them any interest. They're quite plain. The oldest looks like a lobster. The youngest has the face of a parrot. And the one in the middle is somehow both a lobster and a parrot at once. Julia sat on the edge of the small wooden bench, her hands folded tightly in her lap. The evening air was soft and warm, carrying the faint scent of jasmine from the garden. Teresa sat across from her, watching closely, her face lit by the glow of the oil lamp. "You won't believe it," Julia began, her voice low but full of excitement. "He came by yesterday afternoon." Teresa's eyes widened. "He did? Tell me everything." "I know I should be more careful, but I can't help it," Julia said, smiling shyly. "I'm falling more in love with him every day." Teresa reached out and gently took her friend's hand. "You're lucky, Julia. Truly. I hope you both find all the happiness in the world." Julia nodded, her eyes shining. "We must enjoy this time. Let's love, let's be happy, and maybe one day, we'll leave this world together too. No sad thoughts, right? Only joy." Teresa smiled. "Right. No sad thoughts." They sat in silence for a moment, the quiet filled only by the soft chirping of crickets outside. Then Teresa looked down, her smile fading. "Julia, I've been thinking so much about Gabriel. I can't get him out of my mind." "Gabriel?" Julia asked gently. Teresa nodded. "Yes. He's different from anyone I've ever met. I dreamt about him. Twice." "Tell me," Julia said, leaning closer. "The first dream was beautiful," Teresa said, her voice softer now. "We were happy. I felt safe. In the dream, we were getting ready to get married. We were alone in Uncle Matthias' garden, and he was on his knees, promising me again and again that I would be the last thing he ever thought about." Julia smiled. "That's lovely." "I know," Teresa said, blushing. "I even cried in the dream. When I woke up, my eyes were wet." "I believe you," Julia said warmly. "Love makes us feel everything more deeply." Teresa paused, then her face grew serious. "But the second dream, it was terrible." "What happened?" Julia asked, her voice full of concern. "I saw him on his horse," Teresa whispered. "And then he fell. Down a deep cliff. I screamed and woke up. It felt so real." Julia reached out and hugged her friend. "But it was just a dream, Teresa. Nothing more." "I know," Teresa said, trying to smile. "Still, it scared me." Julia held her close. "You'll be fine. We both will." They stayed like that for a while, two young women caught between dreams and reality, hope and fear, love and the unknown. The night stretched on, soft and quiet, like the hush before a storm. Life isn't a dream, no, but I can say I live in one every day. His face is always with me, day and night. It's like dreaming, maybe even better. "I feel the same," Teresa said with a sigh. Julia went on. "Imagine if I were lucky enough to marry him, and you married yours too. We could live together. What a happy life that would be, right?" "Oh, don't say such things," Teresa whispered. "One love and one true friendship," Julia said. What more could anyone want? A knock came at the door of the room. Teresa asked who it was. "It's me," a man's voice replied. "It's Gabriel," she said, turning to Julia. Then she walked over and opened the door. Gabriel stepped in. He was a pleasant young man, very much like his sister. He had a cheerful and easy way about him, but he was also kind and polite, which made him popular with the girls. "You two were talking, weren't you?" he said. "I wonder what about. I bet it wasn't about the sandals of St. Francis of Paula." "Be quiet, heretic," Teresa said with a laugh. I know it's a sin. I want to write it down this time." "So, what were my two lovely ladies chatting about?" "Wanna know?" Julia teased. "We were talking about nosy people." "Oh, really? So you're judging all of humanity today?" Gabriel joked. "But I bet it wasn't nosy people at all. It was probably something more interesting. Like love." "Come on, brother," Teresa said, blushing. "What? Do girls your age already fall in love?" he asked, looking at Julia. "Is my dear sister in love, Miss Julia?" The two girls exchanged a quick look. Had he overheard them? Gabriel watched his sister, clearly enjoying her embarrassment. Teresa stayed quiet for a moment, then finally asked, "Who put that idea in your head?" "Oh, I figured it out on my own." "Well, you're wrong." "But what if it were true?" "If it were true, it would be perfectly normal. So why wouldn't I know what's in your heart?" "Heaven forbid," Teresa said. "Come on," Gabriel said, sitting down on a cushion. "Why wouldn't I know? I understand if Miss Julia doesn't tell me her secrets. But you're my sister." Julia smiled and said, "My loves?" "Yes, that's right, your loves." "I bet you don't have any either, do you?" "I truly have nothing," she replied. "Nothing? Don't try to fool me. I know you do, not just you, but Teresa too. And as the brother of one and the servant of the other, I'll find out everything. That's my word." "Did you hear that?" Teresa asked Gabriel. "All of it." "Oh, how curious," they both exclaimed at once. Gabriel laughed at both of them, and secretly enjoyed the awkwardness they were in. Unable to face his gaze any longer, the two girls fell into each other's arms, laughing nervously. A few days later, a ball brought both families together. It was the birthday party of the commander's daughter. Who was invited, what the ladies wore, or who looked prettier or more charming, wasn't important to our story. It's enough to say that Julia and Teresa stood out for their grace and taste. In that, nature and fashion made them equals, like true sisters. You, dear reader, will surely forgive us for not describing every detail of their outfits. At the ball, Julia and Teresa hardly ever left each other's side. If something forced them apart, they accepted it, but only to reunite as soon as possible. Gabriel was there too, watching them with quiet amusement. Around 10 in the evening, a gentleman entered the ballroom. He was young, handsome, and carried himself with great charm. His name was Ernesto, the son of Dr. Campos. He had gone to Europe when he was very young, and had just returned a few days before. Word of his arrival had reached the girls before he even arrived at the party. Naturally, both were curious. Seeing him became a shared thought between them, but both quickly decided they should check on their reflections first. Two more friends waited for them in the mirror, very much like themselves, perhaps even closer to each than they were to one another. And so, they went. A woman always has a ribbon to tie, or a strand of hair to fix when getting ready to see a man, even if it's the 100th time. It's like the weapons they prepare before stepping into the playful battle of flirtation, where no formal challenge or witnesses are needed. Whether they actually adjusted their ribbons and hair, or simply gave themselves a quick glance in the mirror since tradition. Here is unclear if two friends were ready to return to the parlor. Julia went ahead, gently pulling aside the curtain to step through. But on the other side, Teresa did the same. Both stepped out at the same moment, only to quickly step back in again. They looked at each other. "There he is," they both whispered. "Which one?" Teresa asked. "My boyfriend," Julia replied. "Yours too?" "Yes." Outside, indeed, a few gentlemen were walking around. The two friends pressed their eyes to a small gap in the curtain and began pointing out to each other who was who. Moments later, after whispering their observations with held breaths, they looked at each other in shock. "It's the same one," they both said at once. In moments like these, even the closest of friends feel the weight of silence. And so it was now. Chance, that author of so many unexpected twists, had arranged for both women to fall for the same man. Naturally, this was the worst thing that could happen. The silence between them filled with thoughts neither dared to speak at first. To stretch it further would only make things worse. Teresa was the first to speak. "Truly, fate must want us to become a lasting example of sisterhood, to let such a strange meeting happen." "That's true," Julia said softly. Juliana had always been the first, and unfortunately, the same one. "You're right to say unfortunately, because you love him, don't you?" "Very much." "And you?" "As much as you do." "What a tragedy." The two friends sat down, visibly sad. I think a single tear even rolled down each of their cheeks, as if they were already mourning the happiness they were about to lose through a simple sigh. They stayed like that for a while. Then Teresa stood up and walked toward Julia. "My dear," she said, "we are sisters in heart. If your love is strong, if your life depends on it, then let him be yours alone. Comfort your heart and don't worry about me." "No, that's not right," Julia replied, standing as well. "In the name of what should I allow such a sacrifice? I cannot bear to see you cry, Teresa. I would rather die." Such devotion is rare, and I doubt anyone has ever seen anything quite like it, especially not with the sincere conviction they both showed. It was a moment so powerful that I regret only the mirrors on the dressing table and the pen of the writer were there to witness it, for it reached deep into the most private corners of their minds. Still, if this struggle of refusal had gone on much longer, it risked becoming boring. Luckily, both girls seemed to understand this and decided to bring it to an end. But then at the same time, they had a new thought on that hadn't come up before. It was Teresa who spoke first. "But tell me, what if he's tricking both of us? Didn't you say he seemed to return your feelings?" "He did return them. And me too. So he was playing both of us." "He was. That changes everything. We were both suffering from love for him, never realizing that our hearts were pointing to the same place. And he, happy to have the affection of both of us, was secretly laughing at us both. It sounds true. It is, without a doubt. To their sadness was now added a touch of prideful anger. It was the missing spice. I should even say that, without this perfectly natural anger, their hearts would have suffered twice as much. Julia and Teresa had, until now, only a vague sense of bad fortune to blame for their heartache, some invisible force, against which they could sigh and cry out in frustration. But now, before them stood a real living person, a man who had caused their painful situation. Once they agreed that the young man had mocked them both, the two girls were equally united in one decision. He must no longer occupy their thoughts, since he had proven himself unworthy. But who can truly control the heart? Even as they turned against him, it was still love that drove them. Perhaps they were mistaken. Would love win in the end, or perhaps friendship? Readers who are curious enough to keep going will soon find out. I do not belong to the kind of storytellers who think their audience sees nothing, who believe readers are blind to the hidden threads in a story. So, let it be clear, you, the reader, already understand that the boyfriend of Julia and Teresa, and the young man who entered the house of the commander at 10 o'clock, causing such a stir among the guests, were in fact one and the same person. Now, allow me to say a bit more about this mysterious young man. As already mentioned, he had just returned from Europe, and was a handsome fellow. His name is Daniel. He is 25 years old. His profession? He owns 200 contos in public debt bonds and properties listed with fire insurance companies. He was a spender, yes, but not a reckless one. He kept track of his money, something he had learned the hard way, as those 200 contos were all that remained of an 800 contos inheritance left by his father. This, in short, is the man who is loved by the two young women. And he could have had many more lovers, had he wanted, so charming and attractive was he. Julia and Teresa had gone to the ballroom. At first they did not see Daniel. But when a quadrille was about to begin, they saw him approach, accompanied by Gabriel. Daniel was nearsighted. When he lifted his monocle and recognized the two girls, he gave a small, surprised gesture. It would not do, however, to appear too eager or familiar. He quickly regained his composure. Julia had been watching from across the room when Gabriel led Daniel into the group, introduced him to her and Teresa, and then told his sister to dance with him. "I already have a partner," Teresa whispered. "You do, that's true," Gabriel replied, "but I'm your partner. Tonight, in giving up my place for Daniel." There was no way to say numero still. Teresa hesitated, looking to Julia for a sign. Julia simply lifted her shoulders in a quiet shrug. Teresa caught the motion and, without another word, took Daniel's arm. Gabriel turned to Julia. "If you don't have a partner, Miss Julia," he said, "he'd be honored." "My vis-a-vis is Daniel," she answered. "Well, has already taken," Gabriel replied. Before she could respond, the signal for the quadrille rang out. Julia stood, accepted Gabriel's arm, and walked with him toward the dance floor. They were just about to take their place opposite Teresa and Daniel when a gentleman approached, claiming Julia as his partner for that very dance. "I must have misunderstood," she said quickly. "I thought my partner was this gentleman." The young man didn't argue. Julia's face flushed. She had lied, and now she realized how reckless it had been. But as soon as she found herself face to face with Teresa and Daniel, all of that vanished from her mind. Her eyes locked onto her friends, full of curiosity and silent questions. The dance began. Daniel talked a great deal to Teresa, who answered mostly with nods or short words. But as the dance went on, her attention seemed to drift, as if she no longer cared much for the conversation. What could they be talking about? Julia wondered. She tried to guess, but not knowing only made her wish the dance would end faster. At last, the quadrille finished. As soon as she could, Julia pulled Teresa aside and asked eagerly what she and Daniel had spoken about. "Oh, nothing important," Teresa replied. "He only talked about silly things. He's dull, real just an ordinary man." That was enough to calm Julia's nerves. More quadrilles followed. It was already past 1 in the morning. Teresa's family had agreed to stay later at her request. Then suddenly, Gabriel appeared beside Julia, Daniel on his arm. "My friend Daniel," Gabriel said with a smile, "is the best waltzer in the room, even better than me." Gabriel turned to Daniel and said, "Mrs. Julia is the best waltz dancer in this room, even better than my own sister." So, naturally, Daniel and Julia danced the waltz together. And it truly lived up to the praise Gabriel had given them. When the music stopped, Julia looked completely worn out. Was it from the dancing or from emotion? Probably a bit of both. The truth was, Daniel had not only danced with her, but also whispered soft, quick, and firm words into her ear the whole time. By the end of the night, here is what Daniel had told both Julia and Teresa, almost the same words for each. To Teresa he had said, "I love you deeply. You are the only one in my thoughts. A moment of foolishness made me want to play with your friend, but I have no other love, and I want no other love than you. You are my soul, my life, my future, my heaven. Love me, love me." And to Julia, he had said the same. "I love you deeply. You are the only one in my thoughts. A moment of foolishness made me want to play with your friend, but I have no other love, and I want no other love than you. You are my soul, my life, my future, my heaven. Love me, love me." 8. A few days passed after the ball. Nothing important changed in their lives. The two friends kept writing to each other often. Letters went back and forth quickly, and their sisterly love seemed just as strong as before. But there was one small, strange detail in their letters. Neither Julia nor Teresa mentioned Daniel, not even once. That silence, after everything that had happened and the words Daniel had whispered at the ball, seemed natural. Still, could his confession have changed how they felt inside? Let's find out. Daniel kept visiting in the afternoons, just like before, going to both Catumbi and the Cajueros. At the usual hour, both young women were already waiting by the window. But how can we explain Daniel's behavior? Did he love them both? That was impossible. Julia and Teresa were both in love with Daniel. He didn't love either of them. For him, love was just a game. He played with both girls, not out of passion, but for fun. He flirted, he smiled, he whispered sweet words, all for entertainment. And in doing so, he made a terrible mistake. Worse than that, he did it with such clever lies that both women believed he truly loved them. This belief, this dangerous illusion, became a storm cloud over their friendship. Until then, Their bond had been bright and strong, like a summer sky. But now, silence grew between them. Neither spoke of Daniel. They didn't need to. Each could see in the other's eyes the truth they both feared. They were rivals. So one day, when they met, the conversation turned almost naturally to him. They both confessed the same thing. They loved Daniel. They told each other how he had kissed them, how he had written to them, how he had promised them the world. And as they compared his words and letters, the truth hit them hard. He had lied to both. Daniel was not the man they thought he was. He was playing them both. And now, they saw it clearly. At first, anger filled the space between them. How could he do this? How could they have fallen for it? But in time, something deeper rose in their hearts, something stronger than jealousy or pain. Their love for each other, the real love, began to return. 1 month later, each received a letter from the other. Both letters said the same thing: I'm letting him go. Here is Teresa's letter to Julia. My dearest Julia, I know how much you are suffering. I know how deeply you love Daniel. And I understand that love, because I feel it too. But I believe I can bear this pain and still stand. I'm not sure you can. I feel it in your words. In your sadness, your heart depends on him. And so, I must do what my heart tells me is right. This is not about pride or praise. It is about loyalty. It is about doing what is right for a true friend. Yes, I love Daniel. But between my pain and yours, I choose yours. I will bury my feelings. I will walk away. You must be the one to love him. You must be the one to find happiness. Do not thank me. Do not praise me. I am only doing what must be done. To save a friend from great sorrow, that is the duty of true friendship. Julia was reading a letter from Teresa, who had written, If friendship didn't exist for moments like this, it would mean nothing at all. Since heaven made us equal and gave us the same feelings, it was so we could act like fist-putting each other first. If I do this today, tomorrow you'll do the same for me, and that's what makes us true friends. So calm your heart. Keep hoping. Love Daniel. Be happy, and believe me, I'll always be your friend, Teresa. But at the same time, Teresa was reading a letter from Julia. My dear Teresa, Daniel is a bit wild, but he can be loyal and strong if someone truly loving holds him back. Either of us could give him that love, but between us, you seem more fragile, more deeply in love. I love him too, but am thankful I still have enough sense left to know I must give him up for you. What would happen if I kept fighting for Daniel's love? Nothing good, just a pointless fight, and the only result would be losing our peace and happiness forever. If that happened to me, I could live with it. But you shouldn't suffer, and I do feel terrible knowing I caused you such pain. So I'm asking you to love him alone, and try to win all of Daniel's heart. He can make you happy, and I'll pray to God that your wishes come true. Don't worry about me. I'm stronger than you are. I can fight and win. Why not? If I ever feel weak, all I need is the thought that I'm doing what a sister should do. This won't be a useless fight of my heart against love. Let duty win, and that alone will make me happy. Love him, and be happy. With all my heart, your loving Julia. These two letters arrived at the same time, saying almost the same thing. And they had the same effect on both girls. Each realized that the other was ready to give up the man they loved for the sake of their friendship. Both understood that this was the truest kind of sacrificione that only real friends would make. Daniel found himself caught between two women who both insisted on sacrificing their own happiness for his sake. Teresa and Julia each believed they were doing the noble thing by stepping aside. They exchanged letters, each refusing to accept the other's gesture. Eventually, they both gave up on him entirely without a word, without a fight. When they finally met face to face, they embraced, nearly overcome with emotion. "Thank you, my friend," Teresa whispered, her voice trembling. "Your sacrifice is huge, but it's wasted. I can't take it." "I won't take yours either," Julia replied. "Why not? Why not? Please, accept it. Nor you accept mine." They went back and forth like this, each trying to outdo the other in generosity. Meanwhile, Daniel, caught between their noble intentions, lost out completely. He was left standing alone, like a man chasing two rabbits and catching neither. The old saying holds true: you can't win that way. But this story still needs an ending and a lesson. 15 days after these events, Teresa wrote to Julia. "My dear Julia, I know you are my true friend and will share in my joy. I am going to be happy. For women like us, happiness doesn't ask for much, it only needs to fill our hearts and satisfy our dreams. I'm getting married. I've just been proposed to. My fiancé already has my heart, and I believe without sounding proudy have his as well. You'll want to know who he is, and rightly so. Do you remember Alfredo Soares? It's him. I saw him many times before, always with coolness, even indifference. I don't know why I started loving him. If he hadn't asked me now, I think I would have died. That's what love is, Juliet's a question only death or marriage can answer. Goodbye for now. Bless the future of your friend." Teresa. Julia read the letter and replied, "My dear Teresa, from the bottom of my heart, I am happy for you. I truly hope you find complete happiness. Your fiancé deserves you. He is a fine young man, well-mannered, kind, and of good standing. But please, don't feel sad. Heaven made us friends and sisters. It just couldn't give us happiness in the same way." Julia's letter arrived late that afternoon, carried by a young boy from the neighborhood. I read it slowly, savoring each word like it was a secret meant only for me. "I too have found happiness, and if I'm not mistaken, I will be completely happy this very afternoon. You don't know my fiancé, his name is Carlos de Silveira. He's 25 and has the gentle soul of a dove. He loves me just as deeply as I love him. My father won't stand in our way. All that's left is to set the wedding for the same day as yours, so that our happiness begins at the same hour. That way, we'll seal the lucky fate the heavens have given us. Let's thank God for this blessing. Until tomorrow night. Yours always, Julia." The next evening, everyone gathered not at Teresa's house, but at Julia's, in the Cajueiros neighborhood. The two girls and their fiancés were all there. Gabriel had come along with his family for the visit. Teresa and Julia shared their news with glowing faces. Neither judged the other for keeping quiet until the moment they accepted their proposals, because both had done the same. Gabriel, who had learned from his sister Teresa about how both girls had turned down Daniel, waited for a quiet moment. As the two women stood by the window, he walked over and said softly, "There's nothing quite like true friendship. I can't help but admire what you both did for Daniel." "Oh, you know?" Julia asked, surprised. "I do." "I told him," Teresa admitted with a small smile. "But," Gabriel went on, looking from one to the other, "you're both so happy now. It's as if the sky knew just how to heal your hearts." "That's true," they both said in unison. Gabriel studied them for a moment. Then, lowering his voice even more, he added, "And with the strange twist that the letter giving up the first heart was written only after the second heart had already looked at you with love." The girls blushed instantly. They turned their faces away, trying to hide their embarrassment. It was a quiet moment, but it changed everything. The veil had lifted, revealing that their sacrifice hadn't been entirely selfless. In truth, they had both let go of one bird, already holding another in their hands. Still, they married. And they remained as close as ever. I don't know how often such things happen in life. But I do know this. Sometimes, love finds a way not by accident, but because someone chooses to let it in.
Thank you for listening so far. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like our channel and click the bell to be notified whenever a new book is read. Have you heard of Machado de Assis? Machado de Assis, born in Rio de Janeiro in 1839, is considered one of the greatest writers in Brazilian literature and a master of psychological realism. He was a novelist, poet, playwright, and short story writer whose works explore the complexities of human behavior with irony, subtlety, and deep introspection. Among his most famous novels are Dom Casmurro, which questions truth and memory, and the posthumous memoirs of Brás Cubas, a satirical narrative told by a deceased man. Machado's literature often reflects the contradictions of Brazilian society, addressing issues like race, class, power, and identity in a sophisticated yet accessible style. Despite being born into poverty and facing racial prejudice, Machado de Assis rose to become the president of the Brazilian Academy of Letters and a symbol of literary excellence. His sharp wit and profound observations about society and the human soul make his works timeless and universally relevant. Today, he is recognized not only as a Brazilian icon, but also as a world-class author whose legacy continues to influence generations of writers and thinkers. Machado de Assis shows us that literature can be both elegant and critical, intimate and universal, humorous and profound. His stories remain as powerful and thought-provoking today as they were more than a century ago. Machado is a treasure of world literature, and through his voice, we discover the infinite layers of the human experience.